Greetings, everyone. Hope all of you have had a fantastic day today. Glad to be back in Pathfinder Wrath of the Righteous. I appreciate all of you who have been supporting me, watching the videos, leaving me likes, comments, giving me feedback. I appreciate all of it. Really enjoying this process, and I can't wait until September 4th when they get the full game release. Let's go ahead and jump into the playthrough. This time, I think I'll probably end up spending most of the episode trying to pick up all the quests that are here and catch up with all the characters, but we'll see. Maybe there'll be some time to actually jump out into the world map. Let's get started. The dwarf resembles an abandoned citadel, one whose high, crumbling walls are still holding fast, but whose empty, lightless windows make it clear that all inside is dead. Oh, it's you. Good work back there in the great garrison, named Stauton Vhane. If you've heard rumors about me, his face, which looks like it has never known anything as carefree as a smile, grimaces. Just so you know, everything people say about me, it's true. Sorry for attacking you in the great garrison. Don't worry about it, anything can happen in battle, especially when you're dealing with demons. Since we're on the subject, I won't ask what troubles you. That's your business and we'll keep it that way. But I can tell when a person's fighting a losing battle against themselves, and I know something that can help. Here, take this. It's already served me as well as it could. May it do the same for you. I need to talk to the elf who calls himself the Storyteller. Do you know where I can find him? The Storyteller? Stauton strokes his beard in thought. A strange old fellow, that one. He used to sit with me for hours, asking about all sorts of things. He never offered judgment or comfort, he just listened. At first, I wanted him and his questions as far from me as possible, but later I realized that talking to him did ease my burden a little. So I hope he is alive and well. He's completely blind and feeble too, so if he's alone in the city, well, you probably know what that means. I do know one place he might be. Look for him in the Black Wing. It's a library. Here, I'll show you where it is on the map. I don't know what use a library is to a blind elf, but he loved the place. He would sit there day and night. What do people say about you? They say I'm a traitor, as bad as Areelu Vorlesh, that I'm a disgrace, even among the ranks of the condemned, that Queen Galfrey should never have spared me, that I belong on the gallows. Why do they hate you so much? You really don't know? Stauton gives you a long, morose look, then sighs. I'm the reason why the Crusade forces are holed up in the fortresses on the edge of the Worldwound instead of bringing the fight to the demons. We used to have a foothold in the wound, the mighty, unassailable city of Dresden. We used to have it until it fell, and all because of my stupidity. I gave the enemy our main citadel. I was tried. They wanted to execute me, and rightly so, but the queen intervened. She said that I should live and fight in order to undo what I had done. So that's how I live, decade after decade, fighting in the condemned. The dwarf shrugs. As you can see, I have fixed nothing, and I've earned no one's forgiveness. Are you going to spit in my face too? It wouldn't surprise me. Evil. Spit in Stauton's face. The dwarf casually wipes his face. He looks at you calmly, as though nothing happened. Ooh, that is low. People spit in your face, dog, and you don't even react to it? Sheesh. A whole city fell because of you? How is that possible? What do you mean, how? The knight glares at you from beneath his furrowed brows. If you don't trust the word of a condemned, go ask somebody else. Like my little brother Joran, and if you still don't believe it, what's it to me? But if you're about to ask me to recount the story of my disgrace for the 1000th time, don't. You really don't have any friends? I couldn't have survived this long if I was completely alone. Jordan, my little brother, he keeps me going. He's never abandoned me. Everyone else shies away from me like they might catch what I've got. Even fighters in the condemned console themselves by thinking, I got stripped of my rank, but at least I'm not Stauton. Commander Tirabay seems to be the only person in the whole army who remembers that I'm a soldier and not a drudge. She has no qualms about taking me into battle. She's had some mud flung at her in the past, or so I hear. That's why she tries to keep an open mind about people. It's no surprise that she's the only one to hold onto her sense of reason in this farce. So many years in the condemned. Surely you have paid your penance by now. That's not up to me to decide. My life is in the Queen's hands. He falls silent for a moment, and then in a trembling voice he adds, the condemned isn't the worst part. All these years I have prayed to Torag for forgiveness. Countless times I've gone to his priest. Countless times I've kneeled before his altar. If only the father of dwarven kind would answer my prayers just once, not to restore what I've lost, but just to tell me that I am still one of his children. But it seems he doesn't give a damn about me. What can I expect from mere mortals when my own God doesn't think I deserve redemption? I have to go. Go on then. Maybe we'll see each other again. Camellia looks at you pensively, toying with her snake-shaped bone amulet that dangles from her pale neck. Noticing your glance, he flashes you a cold, barely there smile. Greetings. It seems for a moment that the girl wants to say something else, but the pause grows too long, and she slips back into cautious silence. Tell me about yourself. You want to know more about me than you already do? Why? Camellia arches a dainty brow. I talk to the spirits of this tormented land, and they guide me in battle. I help you fight the demons, and I swear that you can rely on me in this matter. Isn't that sufficient? Where did you learn to wield a rapier so well? I had good teachers, although they don't get all the credit. I am a most diligent student. Camellia licks her parched lips. Your amulet is quite unusual. Where did you get it? Ah, my little trinket. It's so nice of you to notice, but I assure you, this amulet is nothing but a bauble. Can a lady not be drawn to beautiful, useless things? Anyway, as much as I enjoy our delightful conversations, the spirits are calling me, and I must respond. Please excuse me. Camellia turns away, watching you out of the corner of her eye. Here, take this. Yes, 2,000 coins. Take your payment and remember that Horgus Worm always keeps his word. You helped me get back to the surface, and I duly paid you for escorting me. Now, speaking of our future cooperation. Horgus looks at you with unvarnished disapproval, his arms folded across his chest, his foot tapping impatiently. I have a job that would be perfect for someone like you. Naturally, I'll pay you generously for your services. What do you mean a job for someone like me? For an adventurer ready to sell their soul for booze and then lay down drunk in the gutter? Or did you think you're somehow different? A traveling knight, perhaps noble of heart, but without a coin to your name? Horgus sizes you up critically, then sighs and shrugs. You seem a reliable enough ally to me, and you did get me out of those mongrel caves. So why should I care what you do with my money once you've got it? Horgus seems like one of those people who thinks the entire world owes them something. However, you hear notes of hysteria beneath his smug arrogance. It's as though he's really quite nervous, but taking great pains to conceal it. Noble birth doesn't give you the right to behave badly. I would ask that you refrain from such statements in the future. Horgus puts his hands on his hips. Oh, really? How impudent. No one dares tell Horgus Worm how to address the rabble. So what does this job involve? You shall be my bodyguard. You see, I have good reason to return to my mansion here at Canabras. I still have... Well, it doesn't matter. It's none of your business. My mansion is a breathtaking building with a large garden in the wealthy part of the city. Even before the demons attacked, every thief and fraudster in the city had tried to get inside one way or another. I shudder to imagine the state it's in now. I have little hope that my guards were able to hold the mansion during the attack, and I expect that the servants fled when they saw the demons. Only Abadar knows what's happened there since. Therefore, I would ask that you meet me at my mansion and guard me there until I complete my business. I already asked the local paladins for help, but they've no desire to set foot outside this tavern. Damn cowards and traitors, that's what they are. Also, please, do take Camellia with you. I trust that girl more than the rest of your gang. She is of noble birth, after all. What kind of reward are we talking about? 1,000 gold coins, Horgus replies without hesitation. Double the reward, now think about it. Oh, come on. Oh my God, 23? Holy smokes. Oh, yeah, right. For that kind of money, I could hire Queen Galfrey herself to guard me. 1,000 is my final offer. Deal? Marvelous, most excellent. Horgus's face relaxed. smoothing a few of the tense lines. I'll proceed to my mansion at once and wait for you there. Meanwhile, you needn't worry. I know the city like the back of my hand, but do hurry, unless you want me to lower your reward. That's actually an empty threat. As far as I could tell, the reward remained the same no matter what. All right. Talk to him, Oh, I had to talk to her again. Anevia is in her muted colors, blends almost perfectly into the background. She appears relaxed, but her seemingly unfocused eyes are taking in everything around her, tracking and filtering potential threats. The only tell is the way she drums her fingers on her hip near her weapon sheath. She shows no sign of injuries and confidently leans on a previously broken leg. She pretends to have just noticed you even though she watched you approach from afar. Oh, hey! See how they patched me up? Now I can run, jump, or dance a jig if I feel like it. Are there any suspicious places in the city that I should pay attention to? There are a couple of spots I want to check out, but I didn't have time. If there really is a den of cultists there, it would be good if you could swoop in there and bust some heads. You don't even need a search warrant. Anevia shoots you a crooked smile. First one is a silken thread. It's a funny little tailor shop that doesn't take any orders and never buys any fabric, but they always seem oh so busy. They're busy with something in there, all right, but sewing, it ain't it. Second one is the alchemy shop, Topaz Solutions, and they trade in everything, not just healing potions. Judging by the ingredients they've been buying on the black market, there's something fishy about the alchemical rituals going down in that place. Tell me about yourself. The girl shrugs with a lazy smile. I'd be happy to, but there's kind of nothing to tell. So what's so interesting about me? Where are you from? Nowhere. I was blown in by the wind and found in a cabbage patch. The girl stopped short. Sorry, that's an old habit of mine. I don't like blabbing about my past, but you saved my skin, so I guess I kind of owe it to you not to clown around, right? I'm from Nadal, and I wouldn't wish my homeland on my worst enemy. You've heard of the place, I'm sure, ruled by monsters that aren't alive nor dead, and the official religion is the cult of Zan Kuthin. I grew up in a slum, like a weed between the cobblestones. I didn't have a dad, but I had lots of aunts and uncles, my mom's cronies. No prize for guessing the kind of business she was involved in. They gave me a set of lockpicks as soon as I could hold a spoon, and while other kids were picking their noses, I was picking pockets. When I was 12, the monks of the Silent Shroud came for me. Creepy guys with their mouths sewn shut. They're the guards in Nurse Rock. Mom gave me to her friends, and we hid in the secret temple of Desna. I never saw my mom again. I lay low in the temple for the next few years, kept my head down. I washed floors, fetched water, listened to sermons. Funny thing, after a while I started liking Desna's teachings, but as soon as I was old enough, I was out of there. I left Nadal and got as far away as I could. Quite a ragtag group you've got here, from nobles to street thieves. Got that right. Only the best for you. What do you do if the knights and nobles fail to save the world? The lowlifes are our only hope. How did you meet Irabeth? I was bumming around Timon a while back doing this and that. Desna temples sometimes gave me odd jobs, you know. Sometimes they needed people with skills like mine. On the surface, it was fine, I guess. After Nadal, the freedom of River Kingdoms should have seemed like heaven, my chance to sit back and enjoy life. But I wasn't happy. There just wasn't any joy in my new life. I was all alone. No one cared about me, and I didn't care about anybody either. I struggled to find a reason to drag myself out of bed every morning. Tying a stone around my neck and jumping into the nearest river seemed to look pretty appealing. One day, I was hired to follow some fellows who the local authorities suspected was Resmiran spies. I was stupid. I made a rookie mistake and they caught me. It's like my body had already decided to do what my mind had been fighting. They finally put me out of my misery. Got someone else to kill me since I didn't have the guts to do it myself. They grabbed me. I thought they'd gut me on the spot, but instead they hog-tied me and dragged me off. And just like an animal going to the slaughter, my only thought was, let's get this over with. They brought me to this stinking cave, threw me on their altar, and I realized who it was. Kuthites from Nadal. They tracked me down after all those years, but I didn't care anymore. Wouldn't even have cared if they'd eaten me or whatever. We all gotta go sometime, right? So I was lying there, staring at those knives pointing at me when fate rolled the dice and I hit the jackpot. Irabeth. There she was, storming into the cave. Picture it. I'm lying on an altar with all those knife-wielding maniacs around me, and suddenly Irabeth storms in. I thought it was Ayamade herself, fierce, in her shining armor with her gleaming sword raised. She made quick work of those scumbags, chopped them up just like that. I didn't have time to blink. She untied me, and then The girl's face lights up as she chuckles. She looked through the papers they had on the table, and she started swearing like a sailor. So much for I am a day. How did you and Irabeth end up at Canabras? After almost becoming a human sacrifice, I knew I never wanted to leave Irabeth's side. Desna knows I fell for her instantly, and I fell hard. My misery was gone, and when Irabeth showed me what was in those papers, proof that the cultists had a nest in our home city, well, I offered to help her without a second thought. Anevia smiles warmly. She must have figured I couldn't wait to get my revenge on the cultists, but I didn't give a damn about them. It was her. I'd go anywhere with her, even on a crusade or into the jaws of a dragon. But I took to life in Canabras like a duck to water. I used to be an outcast wherever I went, but half of the Crusaders are the same. After all, who'd volunteer to tangle with demons on the edge of the abyss? You gotta be either a goody two-shoes with too much honor and free time, or a misfit with no life on the normal world with normal people. People come here to run away from their debts, their past, from themselves. So I fit right in. What is it like living with Irabeth? It's like living. Without her, I wouldn't be. Seriously, if I were alone, I'd definitely be gone by now. Sure, sometimes we argue, can't deny that. Sometimes we bang our fist on the table and yell so loud that the walls shake. But that's all about order business. But at home, well, I'll give you an example. I've kind of always wanted to move out of that broom closet we call a house and into something cozier. It ain't like they take a vow of poverty at the Eagle Watch. But every month, somehow most of our spare money is spent on Crusader business. Sure, I get mad about it, but Anevia makes a helpless gesture. It's part of why I love her so much. You know, Irabeth has that thing that matters most for a person, a purpose in life. She's always got a reason for whatever she's doing. Her whole life is a crusade. And I just drifted around like a leaf in the wind until Desna brought us together. Now she's the meaning of my life. So it really makes no difference if we live in a mansion or under a bush. Thank you for your answers. Thanks for asking. Telling you all this kind of makes me feel better. What are your responsibilities in the Eagle Watch? Anevia smiles evasively. Nothing official. I'm not a knight, you know. I just hang around. You sure you want to know the details? Catching traitors and spies and cultists is no walk in the park. It's a delicate job. You can't always do it all within the letter of the law. What if we surprise a suspicious blighter with an official search? Everyone will know about it before long, starting with their cronies. Then again, sticking to people's houses at night ain't exactly legal. Crusaders can't be doing stuff like that, can they? Well, I'm not exactly a knight. The girl trails off. I have to go. All right, you watch yourself now. I believe that help is already on the way. The queen will not leave us to die. A stout old man with a fuzzy gray beard mumbles a prayer. He looks as tired as everyone else in the tavern, but determination is stamped upon his haggard face. What can I do for you? Who are you? Vasali Rathamus, rector of the local temple of Abadar. The temple is gone, though, and if we snooze here for much longer, the city will be lost as well. Who was the boy with you? This one? Kaeldo, the shepherd, my apprentice. He's a smart boy and his faith is strong. He serves still, though, but there's still something he can learn from an old servant of Abadar. He'll be a great cleric when he gets a little older. What kind of help can I expect from you? First, I sell scrolls. I have a lot of them, something for every emergency. Second, while you're here in the tavern, I can read one for you. Guaranteed, no surprises. But you better not go into the city without a cleric. I won't be going there myself. I'm too old, and my powers are needed here. Show me the scrolls you're selling. All right. And we won't sell masterwork stuff for now, but we can still do some bulk selling. That gives me $2,800. No, I won't start buying stuff. So they significantly expanded the inventory with this update. So you see there's a whole lot of diamond dust that for whatever reason doesn't stack. I'm sure they'll fix that before the main release. And then it's just a wall of different things that you can buy. None of which we'll get now. In fact, I don't even want to sell this stuff now. I don't want to. There's enough stuff in his inventory as it is. I don't want to junk it up further.
This way.
Wenduag's tense stance reveals her constant vigilance. Her eyes are focused and resolute. Noticing you, she lets you speak first, bowing respectfully. Master, I am at your service. I want to know more about you. The underground warrior looks flattered, raising her chin proudly. You can ask me anything, Master. What do you think of life on the surface? Wenduag scoffs arrogantly. Life among the uplanders, you mean? Your customs are strange. The huntress casts a glance at you and corrects herself quickly. I mean theirs, not yours, master. You are strong and clever, but I look at other uplanders and wonder. Have you seen how proud they are of their weakness? Look, my hands are so soft, I've never done anything with them in my entire life because noble blood runs through my veins. What does it matter who someone's parents are? I'm the daughter of a former chief of the tribe. So what? Is this what they respect and fear me for? Saul became the chief because he was old, experienced, and smart. After him, I might become the chief because I'm strong and even smarter. But these weaklings wouldn't have lasted a day in our caves. Wenduag's eyes narrow warily. Everything is strange here, but it's all right, master. We'll put things right, won't we? Tell me about your life in the caves. Life was better than an uplander might think. You're surrounded by rock on all sides. It's sturdy, dependable. When you hide in a crack, you know for sure you're safe. Not like here. All this empty space around you. You always have to be on guard in case an arrow flies from any direction and hits you. Life underground is calmer somehow. Sure, there's less food in the cave than here, but the amount of food the uplanders have, it's too much. Don't you see, master, how many fat uplanders there are? What they eat so much? Like cattle fattened up to make for tastier meat. We only had one fat person in our tribe, and that was Saul. And he was only fat because he was old. But up here, everything just seems fair in the caves. When there isn't enough food for the weak, they die. The lazy die. The sick in the head and the body die. Only the strong and the skilled survive, and the blood becomes thicker, tougher. What happened between you and land? Wenduag shrugs disdainfully. He is a good hunter, but not too clever. A bit of an idiot, really. He was the strongest in the tribe after me. That's why I kept him close. His heart is soft, unlike his body. The huntress smiles shamelessly. But then I met you and I didn't need land anymore. Now I only want to hunt with you. I can tell you're proud of your strength. Wenduag throws her shoulders back proudly. Of course. Let anyone see who is standing before them. The weak must obey the strong if they don't want to be reminded of their place. Even when I was snot-nosed little cave rat, I could bring nethers twice my age to heal because I feared nothing and no one, pain least of all. I was showered with praise and compliments. The best hunters of the other tribes wanted me, but what did that matter to me? The moment you start listening to flattery is the moment you get soft and you die. No, I always pushed myself further, challenging myself, taking myself to the very edge. Many times I almost died, but I always came back stronger. I earned all my strength on my own, and if anyone didn't respect that, I just grabbed my knife. That's why I became the best hunter in the tribe. On the surface, your people are called mongrels, but I take it you don't like that term. The hunter shrugs her shoulders. Let the uplanders call us what they want. It doesn't matter. I know what they're trying to do by giving us that stupid nickname. They are asserting their status and superiority over us. But it's normal to try and dominate a stranger you just met. That's expected. When my kin conquer the lands on the surface, people will call us by whatever name we choose. Why do you serve me now? Wenduag gives you a bland smile. Because you are winning, and I want to be with the winner. I don't like sharing food and fire with weaklings. I prefer people like you. And also because being close to you is a good way to live. I love life. I'm young and strong. It makes sense to eat, drink, screw, and kill enemies while you are young, not when you are 30,000 gongs old and shriveled up like Saul. As long as I'm your servant, I can have fun as I like and order around anyone I want. Who will dare defy me? No one. Her eyes drip, half closed in smug satisfaction. Evil. Kill for me, and you will get everything you've been dreaming of. Wenduag shoots you a feral grin. It's good we understand each other, master. As we nethers say, you and I are hunting in the same cave. Everything is clear to me now. Wenduag lowers her head, bowing much lower than is customary. Your interest gratifies me, master. Let's talk about you serving Seelah. Uncertainty sparks in Wenduag's eyes as she curls her spider legs on her back closer to her body. Of course, master, but now I only serve you. Has someone said something about me? What did you do for the demons? I brought my kin to their lair so they could join the demon army and accept the power given to them. I made my tribe stronger. Later, Once we no longer needed the demons, my powerful kin would have fought for me. The huntress shoots you a grim and bloodthirsty grin. Aren't you ashamed of betraying your kin? Wenduag replies respectfully but defiantly. I know that Saul would have called me a traitor, but for one reason only. He grew old and cowardly. I accepted the same fate as my fellow tribesmen. I ate the flesh too, and for many gongs I thrashed with fever, growling like an animal, lunging at anyone and everyone, my body burning from the inside. But I handled it because I am the strongest of them all. Not a single day have I regretted the power I gained, and that's why I'm not ashamed of sharing that power with my tribe. Why did you decide to switch alliance? I was only serving the demons because they promised me power, and only for as long as they had something to offer me. Wenduag chuckles, revealing her sharp teeth. But Seelah can't offer me anything now. She's dead, and I was never going to risk my life for her. You are a true leader, one worth following, the huntress says in a fawning tone. How can I trust you? Wenduag's voice gains a fervent edge. Why would I betray you, master? You are the strongest. It would be stupid to defect to your enemies and die along with them. No, I am not that dumb. I have no more questions. It's good that our paths crossed. You could need a good servant, and I need a strong master. Please, stop groveling. Wenduag shakes her head. I'm not groveling. I'm showing respect for your power. That is exactly how the weak should behave in the presence of the strong. You promised me an army of mongrels. Wenduag narrows her cat-like eyes. And I will give you one, master. But first, we have to rebuff the attack on the city. Saul has spent his entire life preparing for the underground Crusaders' return to the surface, and he's not going to take any risk. He will order the tribes to hide in the caves like rats, and he will decide whether they are strong enough to fight side by side with us. Maybe he will decide that it's better to sit this one out and wait for another chance to come along. We have to fend off the demons, win a glorious victory, and show Saul that ours is not a lost cause. Then he will give us his warriors, and then it will be my job to turn them into real soldiers. That's it for now. The huntress gazed at you with devotion. Thank you for talking to me, master. Just listen to this woman. Isn't it amazing how much nonsense can fit into such a small package? An imposing young Oread is surrounded by a crowd of crusaders who are hanging on to her every word. I hope this example clearly illustrates the difference between Jiska legionnaires from the last war and the crusaders. The perfection of form and spirit they were imbued with during creation turned them into parts of a well-balanced war machine. Not a ragtag bunch of individuals, but a united whole. Now tell me again, why am I supposed to be impressed by your reckless assaults, where everyone is fighting for their ego and for the right to beat their peers to a swift but pointless heroic sacrifice? Some of the Crusaders grumble unhappily, but it is clear they are captivated by the woman's words. The only exception is a scraggly and disheveled halfling monk, whose puffy black eye gives him away as a brawler and a troublemaker. He enthusiastically pushes forward and tries to engage, but one of his friends swiftly jabs him in the back with an elbow, making the poor fellow pause to catch his breath. Looks like we've got ourselves a student of warfare. The woman gives you a suspicious look and raises an eyebrow. Were your words meant to recognize my achievements, or to start a fight the way Mendevian Crusaders usually do? One of the Crusaders angrily curls his fist tightly and retorts with a burst of passion. If those gist of yours, or whatever, had come for us, we'd have their guts for garters. You think we've never fought a mighty adversary before? The soldier's stern facade cannot fully conceal his relish. He clearly plans to enjoy this confrontation. The Crusaders around him look upon their exotic opponent with a mixture of irritation and piqued interest. The woman chuckles before cutting off her interlocutor. Interlocutor? Okay. I would love to see you storm a 60-foot tall walking castle shaped like a gigantic elephant that carries siege fortifications on its back. And I'll have you know these fortifications were defended by Jiska priest craftsmen armed with demon-bound war machines. They use the enemies you cannot defeat as mindless weapons. The woman gives the people around her a triumphant look and adjusts her hair with pointed nonchalance. Her voice takes on a lecturer's tone. You should not argue with someone who happens to be the most authoritative researcher on the history of warfare 3,000 years before the foundation of Absalom. The woman looks at you and flashes an amused smile. The lecture is over. Do my esteemed listeners have any questions? Who are you? I'm Indra, a warrior, magus, and scholar of classical warfare from Garan. The woman peers at you apprehensively, then sighs. I admit that I am mildly offended by the fact that my name is entirely unfamiliar to you, but I'm willing to accept that this is due to Aveston's isolation from the sophisticated culture of the world at large. You've come a long way to be here. I like to think of myself as an inhabitant of Golarion, and I don't narrowly identify with any country in particular. Why did you come here? To witness a legendary war, the confrontation between denizens of a plane famous for its love of violence and the Crusaders from every continent, united by a common goal of defending their home. An epic struggle of colossal proportions that hasn't been particularly epic so far, truth be told. The monk with a black eye grins and mutters under his breath, maybe she just can't see it from here. The view will get way more epic if she starts hiding among us and takes a walk outside. The woman smirks contemptuously. She does not deem the monk's words worthy of comment. It looks like you know about... Nope. Aren't you the insolent one? I am the impartial one. Not taking part of your conflict allows me to watch it from the outside and form an unbiased opinion. Why don't you join the Crusaders and show them how fighting should be done? No. I am a historian, an analyst, a theorist. Do you know what these three words have in common? They describe a mortal woman who does not participate in the conflict upon which her thesis will be founded. But then again, I will hardly be able to describe this mess as anything other than a feeble likeness of the last war of Jiska. The monk with a damaged eye grins slightly and comments, the more dangerous the upcoming scuffle is, the more motivated we are to find clever and pretty words to justify not actually doing the fighting. What is this last war that you mentioned? The last war of Jiska, of course, a large-scale conflict that took place 3,000 years before the foundation of Absalom. It was a war between the Assyrian pharaoh of forgotten plagues, the war that ended the legendary Jiska Imperium, an epic struggle that became the most vibrant page in military history. Alas, all conflicts that followed it were but a pale shadow, including the one I am witnessing here. Why do you find the last war of Jiska so inspiring? Imagine legions of golems imbued with extraplanar spirits marching into battle. Imagine flying cities that swoop out of the clouds like terrifying monstrous birds of prey to drop forces on top of enemy castles. Picture gigantic mechanisms powered by captive and very angry demons and devils. Imagine standing in the warpath of walking citadels or having to cover your ears to block out the sound of cannons loaded with shrieking elementals. Finally, imagine the ultimate weapon that defeated the Jiska, the deadly night plague. This affliction was an attack dog, a trained epidemic, a tamed pestilence, striking only those who its master wanted to kill. Imagine all these terrors and understand that no flight of fancy can even come close to the horror of the nightmares that they made real. How do you know so much about Jiska's last war? I can say without false modesty that there is no more authoritative researcher on Golarion when it comes to the history of warfare 3,000 years before the foundation of Absalom. I've dedicated my whole life to this subject. I personally visited old battlefields and studied the most mysterious and forbidden archives containing chronicles of ancient wars, sometimes risking my life in the process. I saw a fallen sky city of the Shori Empire with my own eyes. I ripped out the control crystal from an exterminator-class combat golem that guarded the Jiska laboratory with my own hands. These fingers held the glass flask that the servants of Pharaoh of Forgotten Plagues used to create the first generation of pestilence that devastated the Jiska Imperium. How do I know so much? I saw and touched everything I'm telling you about. You're wrong to treat the Crusaders with such disdain. Allow me to explain. A debate? Oh, I will be happy to prove that the current conflict can't hold a candle to the last war of Jiska. Very well. The last war of Jiska was waged using a significantly greater number of troops. Both sides actively relied on reinforcements from allied planes, and the strategic planning was perfected through no fewer than 7 rounds of intensive design. None of the above applies to this war of yours. Compared to the Jiska, we are but stone club wielding kobolds. I would like to conclude my thesis with a few words of wise counsel from Dagon, an advisor to the Pharaoh of Forgotten Plagues. I doubt you will comprehend the true genius of his statement, but here it is, nevertheless. A gadfly sees the ox. The ox pays no heed to the gadfly, but crimson fever takes them both. Diplomacy, right? Yep. The events of the past are shrouded in legend, but the fate of the world is being decided here and now. That is what you fail to grasp. Oh, really? Oh, what a low roll. Okay, I'll roll with it. We are not saves coming, said he, standing in the middle of a dingy tavern. Endara graciously accepts the chuckling of our audience. One mustn't overestimate the importance of current events for world history. Should Kanabra's fall, it will be yet another page in the chronicles of the Worldwound conflict. Should it endure, it will be fortunate to earn any mention at all. The monk with a black eye stifles a giggle and looks like he wants to say something, but ultimately holds himself back. Oh, so you could do a knowledge check. Still, even though you failed the original one. Oh, that's cool. The principles of war are always the same. Weapons, causes, and resources may change, but the foundations remain immutable. There we go. Endara's eyes display frustration as she hears the audience, clearly impressed by your argument, murmuring approval. There is logic in your words, I give you that. Yes, the concept of war does not change, but the degree of sophistication in the methods that we use to destroy our foes. The woman stops, realizing her words, no matter how ostentatious she makes them, no longer have the power to captivate the audience. Endara offers a pretentious dismissal. As a scholar, I cannot deny that there is a certain truth beneath your skeptical statements. History is a complex discipline rooted in fact and an evidentiary base that grows ever more meager the farther the described period is from the present moment. Of course, if I were to argue in bad faith, the Red Crusaders embellished their tales of slaying a single Brimarack by adding a dozen Balers, for example, I can win this debate. But I am above such things, and therefore, I'm forced to admit that your skepticism is not entirely without merit. Have you changed your mind about joining the Crusaders? I don't see the point. You Crusaders appear to be quite confident in your skills. If nothing else, you presented your argument to me with extreme confidence. Endara unbuckles a sword belt and hands you the weapon. This is a worthy blade. It will be of use not only for the strong, but also for the wise. And this is where I bid you farewell. Before the end of the day, I was planning to observe how winged demons use pack tactics to drive their prey like herds of livestock. It is about time I got back to my research. The hint of a smile graces Endara's lips when she sees disappointment in the eyes of many Crusaders around her. Stay safe. All right, and we can't speak with Pink Eye, so I'll assume that's that. And I'm sorry, can I? All right, so this stuff is recognized now. So the glaive we picked up is March in Terror. I'm definitely giving that to Seelah. That will be the one she uses. The heavy mace was this +1 heavy mace. So I'll do a better job of making sure I look at all the weapons. I don't remember where I picked this heavy mace up from. Oh, I think this might have been what I got with Hosilla, right? Maybe. And then we just got Claw Jiska. It's a +1 flaming short sword. No, but I have uses that. This, however, is a masterwork longbow, better than what we had. We do not have a composite longbow. Oh, wait, we do have a composite longbow, but it's not masterwork, so we'll hold off on that. And then with this is better than the armor she had. Nothing else here really works, right? She's got a +5. I guess this works for now. Technically, it's a plus. Yeah, it makes more sense for now. We'll have others that'll make more use of that. She can get a wing of protection. That's just +1. That would have been more useful beforehand, but we'll still give it to her for now. She'll take everything protection related. And then this is the cloak that Stauton gives you. So it gives you a +3 resistance bonus on your will saves. Throw that on him. That's it for now. Okay. Let's continue on. A tall, athletic man greets you. His hair is prematurely gray and shorn close to his head in a military style. He is lean and well-groomed, and a monocle twinkles coldly in his eye. The bold set of his jaw and his large but agile frame attest that there is a man who is always ready to be on the move. Greetings, I am Hillor, venture capital of the Pathfinder Society. I'm the superior officer among Pathfinders in this region of Mendev. However, the Society is running almost no operations here right now. Besides me, there are almost no Pathfinders here. Actually, I'm only stuck here because of an old feud with a demon worshiper known as the Spinner of Nightmares. I've had to work alone without the support of the Society, but I've made a lot of acquaintances among the local mercenaries and daring fighters. If you need any good fighters for an honest cause, talk to me. Tell me more about your confrontation with the Spinner of Nightmares. It all began with the task of the Pathfinder Society. I arrived in Neuroscience with my team to investigate the sudden death of a famous crusader, Baron Falron. We soon focused in on a small hospital for the wealthy, where Falron was being treated shortly before his death. It turned out that a gang of Baphomet's cultists, calling themselves the Labyrinth of Mind, had gotten a foothold at the hospital. They were obsessed with twisting the minds of their victims and targeting fragile people too weak to resist. The hospital was filled with perfect victims, isolated for weeks from the outside world, completely helpless. And when they returned, they were different, almost normal. But the moment they heard a certain phrase, something dark awoke in their mind, and they transformed into servants of Baphomet, ready to lie, betray, and even kill. The Labyrinth of Mind was preparing to infiltrate all the elite circles in Mendev, but Baron Falron stopped them. He was too loyal to his oath and too resistant to their spells. He fought for his freedom until the strain broke his heart. We opened and cleaned the city of Baphomet's pit of vipers. Their den was a cradle of sin and filth. They cast spells on each other, and their loathsome fantasies stepped real from their minds into the world. They dreamt of horrible and forbidden things, and they fought like mad. We burned the place to the ground and slaughtered everyone we could. But the leaders of the cult were able to flee, and they were set upon revenge. They abducted my daughter, Lori, who served under my command in the Pathfinder Society. They left me a note full of tart insults, mockery, and sneers. From that note, I learned the name of my enemy, the Spinner of Nightmares. A few months later, I confirmed that she was the leader of the Labyrinth of Mind. My hunt had begun. I would get Lori back at any cost. Hillor grits his teeth with bulldog determination. I want to know more about you. What exactly are you interested in? I am a common Pathfinder. There are many others like me. Fate and my orders brought me to this land. How did you end up here? I was working on an assistant for the Pathfinder Society, and then a demon worshiper named the Spinner of Nightmares abducted my daughter Lori. For the past 3 years, I've been trying to save her. During this time, I've become a specialist in scouting demon territory. I've even planted agents among the cultists. Truth be told, in pursuing the Spinner of Nightmares, I've been acting more on behalf of Queen Galfred than the Pathfinder Society. It's a long story. Maybe I'll tell you the rest of it sometime. Hillor frowns grimly. The Spinner of Nightmares is a true spawn of the Abyss. I've fought her many times, but I've never been able to seize her by the throat. Tell me about your daughter. Hillor smiles, showing his healthy white teeth. As a girl, Lori was just an angel. We lost her mother early on. She was left to follow my example, a drifter with little idea how to talk to a 10-year-old girl. But even with such questioning parenting, Lori managed to grow into a wonderful girl. Brave, smart, beautiful, and entirely unbearable. She's always argued with me about everything. When Lori was 18 and told me she was going to be a Pathfinder, all I said was, all right. I knew there was no use to try and talk her out of it, and she was a fine Pathfinder. Hillor's fist clenched with a painful sounding crack. I'll never forget the Spinner of Nightmares for taking my girl from me. Sorry, this has been a lot of talking. I need a drink. Tell me about the Pathfinder Society. The Pathfinder Society is a global organization that unites opportunists and adventurers of all kinds. We explore the world and uncover its secrets, travel, and sometimes face down threats. In times of trouble, the latter becomes our primary focus. We're driven by curiosity and a desire to make the world a better place. And, of course, some seek profit or hunger for glory. But in any case, it's hard work. They might send you anywhere on a mission. Weaklings have little place in the society. It's more for seasoned fighters. There's society lodges in many cities. The closest one is in Neuroscience. They've each led by venture captains, like lads like me. The Grand Lodge is in Absalom, the center of the world. The Decimvirate sits there, the anonymous council of our leaders. I have no more questions. If you have any questions, come to me. I have to go. Good luck. Watch your back. Only trust your closest friends. The enemy is cunning and treacherous. I might respect my guy a little bit. As I'm playing through this game, I think I'm up to level 3, right? Yeah, I think there's a couple of things I want to retool about him. We'll see. Seelah smiles at you warmly. Hey there. During the march through the dungeon, we never got the chance to exchange a proper greeting. It's high time I shake your hand. I'd like to know more about you. Of course, ask anything. I'll answer honestly. Tell me about yourself. Where are you from? I'm a little bit from Geb, a little bit from Katapesh, but mostly from the Knights of Ayamadei. I was accepted and began my training at 14. I belong to their ranks more than I belong to any other place. You've come to Mendev by a long road, haven't you? A very long one. Seelah looks at you cheerfully. A traveler is expected to have amusing stories. Unfortunately, I have only 3 tales of any interest, and I'd like to save them for our next feast. Otherwise, I won't have anything to show for myself when it's time to start bragging, and that just won't do. Especially since I win the night with my cautionary tale of a battle with chupacabras. What a feast it will be. We'll talk when we celebrate our next victory. I like your attitude. We'll never overcome grief and misery without hope for the better and dreams of brighter days. What made you become a paladin of Ayamadei? Seelah's gaze sharpens momentarily, then she sighs. That's a serious question, and a good one. You should ask it of your companions, but it's a long story. To start with, 12 years ago, I was nothing like the person I am now. I roamed the streets of Salku with the other homeless orphans. I stole. I fought. I was a hired sword for a bit. Not the proper origin for a paladin, is it? Back then, Salku was a city of orphans, widows, and widowers. Gnolls decimated the city regularly. My parents were among their victims. People there heard about new deaths before they finished mourning their previous losses. One day, a group of Knights of Ayamadei brought a glimmer of hope to the city. But while others saw them as saviors and protectors, I was busy pricing up their noble horses and their gleaming mithril armor, wondering just how much one of their pretty swords would fetch. A thief lives one day at a time, that's what they say. I was the type that never thought past the next job. Anyhow, I was able to sneak into the knight's camp and steal one of their mithril helms. Seelah pauses, her voice sad and measured. And I was right there when a gnoll attacked the helm's owner. Asame was her name, and dealt a blow to her unprotected head. A gnoll, like all those others, she'd fearlessly driven from the gates of Solku. That one blow was fatal, but who really was to blame for her death? The gnoll attacker or the young thief named Seelah? Even a seemingly small misdeed can have terrible consequences. He's not a lawful person, but he understands. He's not dumb, and he sees that this is something that means a lot to her. And he wants to ingratiate himself with her because he knows he's going to end up doing a lot of evil acts that'll probably make her look cross-eyed. So we're going to try to get as much good points with her as possible in the hope she doesn't leave before I no longer have need of her. Yes, you're right 1,000 times over. I hate to say it, but I just didn't see it back then. And if I had never got that lesson, my eyes would probably never have been open. Who knows what would have happened to me if it wasn't for Asame and her bravery and her death. Maybe the world would know Seelah as a bandit, not as a knight and protector of those in need. There's a saying I like to remember. People rarely find redemption on their own. Someone must show them the way. But you were asking what brought me into the ranks of Ayamadei's warriors. We all chose the Paladin's path for our own reasons. Some are guided by nobility of spirit, some by a desire to fight injustice. I became who I am through penance and a debt unpaid. The day Asame died protecting my city, I wanted to kill myself for the terrible guilt I felt. But then I realized it wouldn't make the world any better, and I decided that instead, I'd try to take her place. I'd become who she had been and protect the innocence that she would no longer be able to protect. What are the principles that Paladins of Ayamadei follow? Seelah smiles. I'll tell you. I like to recite our code. It feels like I've said it 1,000 times, but it never gets old. There is strength in these words. After a pause, she begins, her voice slow and meditative. I will learn the weight of my sword. Without my heart to guide it, it is worthless. My strength is not in my sword, but in my heart. If I lose my sword, I have lost a tool. If I betray my heart, I have died. I will have faith in the inheritor. I will channel her strength through my body. I will shine in her legion, and I will not tarnish her glory through base actions. I am the first into battle and the last to leave it. I will not be taken prisoner by my free will. I will not surrender those under my command. I will never abandon a companion, though I will honor sacrifice freely given. I will guard the honor of my fellows, both thought and deed, and I will have faith in them. When in doubt, I may force my enemies to surrender, but I am responsible for their lives. I will never refuse a challenge from an equal. I will give honor to worthy enemies and contempt to the rest. I will suffer death before dishonor. I will be temperate in my actions and moderate in my behavior. I will strive to emulate Ayamede's perfection. Thank you. I've learned everything I wanted to know. I hope I didn't bore you. Ask me something else if you like. Irabeth said your friend Jana Aldori is missing. Do you know where we should look for her? Irabeth is worried about our fighters. I understand that. I want to look for Jana myself so I didn't distract you. But since you're in this too, I could use some help. Jana and I met in Canabras a few days ago and just hit it off. We went drinking together. We went to that unforgettable celebration together too, but we got separated in the crowd. So we should start looking from the main square. That's where I last saw her. Seelah frowns. Jana's a good fighter, even if she is green. She couldn't have become an Aldori otherwise. I hope that means she's all right. What do you think of what's going on in Canabras? It's complete chaos. It's lucky we're here to handle it, right? Seelah smiles brightly. Then she gives you a worried look. Does the way I talk bother you? I know I can seem blasé. Many good people and our protector, Terendelev, died here in Canabras. A paladin of Ayamede is expected to be properly respectful and solemn. But I prefer to face my troubles with a smile and a bit of common sense. Grief is a weapon they'll use against you. It can undermine a warrior's spirit. It's better we hold off on grief until we've driven the last demon and cultist from the city. If we want to win, we can't be mourning our deceased day and night. Plus, joy heals the soul. It's nice when you and your commander think alike. Seelah smiles softly. Is fighting demons all you want, or are you looking for something more? How about covering myself in glory and becoming the hero of 100 ballads? Or at least a dozen, if they're lively ones. Seelah's eyes shine cheerfully. Anyway, to be more serious, the area around the Worldwound is the best place for a paladin who wishes to defend the weak and serve good. Being part of the Crusade is reward enough for me, but there's something that worries me. I don't want to sound like I'm criticizing my brothers in arms, but the Eagle Watch and the other orders are focused on just one aim, the war against the Worldwound. That's why they can sometimes overlook the smaller things, ordinary misfortunes, you know? I always like being a wandering knight because any moment I could get up and go help a poor rat folk whose family had been kidnapped, or an old woman whose favorite dog had gone missing. So here's my answer. I don't have some big important goal, but I'll be happy to help those who need it, a little bit here and there. Thank you for speaking with me. Until next time. See you. Irabeth rubs her red and tired eyes. Any success? How's the city? What is our main objective? You heard what the demon said. They're going to desecrate the Wardstone and blow up the whole barrier around the Worldwound. That would be an even worse disaster than the Worldwound's expansion before the Second Crusade. Not only Canabras, but every city where the Wardstone will be destroyed, including the capital. We can't allow that no matter what. We will take it, even destroy it if we must. Ayamede's gift must not become a weapon of the abyss. These Wardstones, what are they? They are her greatest treasure, the shield given to us by Ayamede herself and placed in Canabras and other Medivan cities and fortresses by our herald. The chain of Wardstones forms a protective barrier that stops the expansion of the Worldwound and keeps the demons from moving beyond its borders. I shudder to think what will happen if the barrier falls. Allow me to ask a few personal questions. Frowning a little, Irabeth nods. Please, but I must warn you, there are some things I don't have the right to discuss. Where are you from? I was born in Canabras. I grew up on a farm just outside it. But my way back home lay at the end of a long and winding road. It took me years of traveling through foreign lands before I came to be where I've always belonged. How did you become a paladin? A bitter smile appears on the half-orc's face. I don't much like to remember it. Believe it or not, the story of how I became a paladin is also the story of how I failed to become a knight. My parents were crusaders. May their souls stand together in Ayamede's celestial army. When I was born, they retired from the war and started preparing me to continue their legacy. But my father was an orc. You'd be pressed to find a calmer, wiser, and more pious servant of the goddess than he, but still, all his life he was dogged by sideways looks and whispers. When I grew older and it was time for me to serve, I decided anywhere but Canabras. That was where my father served loyally, and his only reward had been injustice. Besides, the witch hunters, led by the Honorable Prelate Holron, stalked the city with a heavy hand. Who knows what they'd have done to a strange girl with green skin? Instead, I went to a smirk that looks more like a painful grimace crosses her face. You can laugh if you want, but I was young and foolish. I chose Last Wall of all places. You can imagine how well I was accepted in a country that's been battling the orcs of Belsen since its foundation. There were many there like me, but we were all treated as second-class citizens. To the locals, my green skin was worse than leper scabs. Even my brothers in faith kept their distance. I took my vows and the goddess granted me the powers of a paladin, but even then, not a single order would accept me into their ranks. I spent about 6 months knocking on doors before I realized the simple truth. I serve I am a day, not these people. I don't have to prostrate myself before them, so I left, as a paladin, but not a knight. It's probably hard for you as a human to imagine what it's like when the very color of your skin and the fangs in your mouth make people in the street turn on their heel to avoid you. I mean, no offense, of course. How did you come to join a knightly order? I left Last Wall and went traveling. The goddess guided me, and my path led me to where atrocities were happening. I often fought in exchange for gold, but never for unworthy aims, of course. I wandered the River Kingdoms for a few years, killing monsters and tracking down criminals. Sometimes I thought I was just wasting time, that my true place was in Canabras, but I pushed those thoughts away. I didn't even want to think about going back, but in the end, divine providence has brought me to my senses. It happened in Taiman. I was tracking a gang of bandits which my employer suspected was a cover for Razmiran spies. I managed to find their lair, but inside I found something far more dangerous than spies, an unholy temple to Zan Kuthin. When I broke in there, the cultists were about to sacrifice someone, the person who was destined to become my wife, Anevia. But that's another story. After I cut down the cultists, I examined their papers and couldn't believe my eyes. A network of evil cults had spread throughout all of Avestan, including Mendev. Worse, the documents clearly showed that their allies, the Templars of the Ivory Labyrinth, had infested my native Canabras and were even among the ranks of the Paladins. After that, delaying my homecoming would be tantamount to desertion. Luckily, I was no longer alone. Anevia was as eager to destroy the cultists as I was. Anevia and I hurried to Canabras. We couldn't trust anyone. The papers indicated that the cultists had infiltrated everything. Luckily, I had some experience in investigation, and my beloved, the half-orc, smiles warmly. She knew her way around working locks, tailing people, and trading information with the city's bottom feeders. Soon we defeated, alas, not the whole Hydra, but a few of its heads. Do you know who turned out to be the leader of the cultists? The commander of the Eagle Watch. Can you imagine? While Prelate Holron was chasing witches through the city, the enemy had infiltrated the very order responsible for internal security. The scandal reached the ears of the queen. At first, she planned to disband the order in disgrace, but then she offered its command to me and put its salvation in my hands. Of course, there was one small catch. I wasn't a knight, but I was made commander just the same, skipping the usual progression through the ranks. I can't imagine the followers of Zan Kuthin in an alliance with demon worshippers. Shouldn't they hate each other? They should, but Baphomet's minions are masters of deception. They manipulate Zan Kuthin's butchers as easily as Amadeus' knights. The cultists from that unholy temple didn't know the true face of their associates in Canabras. We ourselves learned the truth much later, after getting to the bottom of their nest. How did the people of Canabras feel about your background? They tolerated it surprisingly well. I shouldn't have been so wary. Crusaders don't tend to be prejudiced, as a rule. After all, heroes from all over the world, even from other continents, come here to fight the demons. Apparently, the people were only suspicious of full-blooded orcs. There were already many like me here, and we don't have any problems, though the locals do have their superstitions. Mendev is as merciless as Last Wall. They just have a different set of victims. I kept seeing those same sideways looks and scowls, hearing the familiar whispers. But where once they used to whisper behind my back and point at me, now they whisper in my ear and point at someone else. It's so strange to be on the other side of humiliation, to wait to spit from your face, and suddenly be invited to change position and spit at someone else. You must have figured out by now that I'm talking about tieflings. It's true there are many of them among the cultists and few among our crusaders. and our fighters do all they can to drive away those who would be our allies. People shun them, call them Areelu spawn, or worse, as if they chose to be born like that. I believe it's quite a feat to rise against the call of one's blood and join the forces of good. Still, most only see them as the enemy. I once saw a knight bleeding to death because he wouldn't let a tiefling priest touch his wound. Alas, I haven't been able to change this in all my time in Kenabres. Tell me about Anevia. We met in Taimon as I was wandering aimlessly from one ordeal to another. We returned to Kenabres together to expose the Templars of the Ivory Labyrinth. The day the Queen knighted me was the second happiest day of my life. The first was the day of our wedding. But Anevia isn't just my beloved. She's my staunchest ally. We share every victory and defeat. The best of me is alive thanks to her. Thank you for saving her back then. The day Kenabres fell, before her return, the only thing giving me the strength to protect the defender's heart was the hope that I'd see her again. We are in your debt. Thank you for your answers. Irabeth nods without saying a word. Tell me about the Eagle Watch. It was a small order, created to fight not only demons but also the enemy within, to maintain the purity of the paladin ranks, prevent heresy, and identify spies, and it failed miserably at that. The Templars of the Ivory Labyrinth infiltrated it and formed their nest within its ranks. After the Queen entrusted me with leading the order, Anevia and I practically built it from scratch. We got rid of deadweight, people who weren't committed. We organized ways to transmit messages and orders safely. We introduced reliable ciphers. We found tacit allies around the city, from Crusader orders to street beggars. This was my personal crusade, to purge the city of the Templars who had infested it. And I thought I was winning. I could feel it. We were so close to driving the cultists out of Kenabres, but Irabeth frowns. It's hard to admit, but those successes didn't count for much once the demons entered the city. On the contrary, if it wasn't for you, there wouldn't be a headquarters at the Defender's Heart. The cultists would have served up the city on a platter to the demons. The lines on Irabeth's forehead softened. Yes, that's true. It's a good thing we achieved something. Thank you. I have to go. Go. May Amadei keep you safe. All right, finish that.
Never my legs carry me.
Oh, that's just my storage chest. Okay. And now him. All right. And I think that's enough for one day. Sorry, I tried to get through as much of this as I could, but we should definitely be able to finish the rest on the next playthrough. If you enjoy this, please go ahead and leave me a like below, and I will see you all in the next video. Take care.